Today we will be learning about specific learning disabilities. We'll go over what a learning disability is, how individuals are diagnosed, the different types of learning disabilities, and how parents and teachers can help their children and students who have a learning disability.
So, what are learning disabilities? Well, the term learning disabilities is kind of like a blanket because it covers a number of different disorders. Learning disabilities affect how a person takes in verbal or nonverbal information, how they sort, organize, and retrieve that information, their ability to remember it, and even their level of understanding. People who have a learning disability can struggle with spoken language, listening, speaking, and understanding. Reading and writing can be a challenge, and math can be a real hard stone to move. And just like how people's taste in fashion can range from socks and sandals to high fashion on the catwalk, learning disabilities can also range in their severity and how they affect people. Many people with learning disabilities are very intelligent, even gifted. With the right help, they're able to learn just as well as anyone. The alarm bells ring and the red flag is raised that someone might have a learning disability if they need an unusual amount of effort and help to be successful, or if they are unexpectedly underachieving at school or work. The impact of having a learning disability and the challenges that often come along for the ride, including attention, organization, social skills, anxiety, and others, can change as a person goes through life. From school to home to soccer practice, every person with learning disabilities is unique and remains unique as they travel through life.
As explained in the video, a learning disability is a disorder that affects how one processes and understands information, especially language. This can certainly affect an individual's ability to learn, but it can also cause challenges with daily tasks and interactions. The ability to process information plays a vital role in our everyday lives. Learning disabilities can affect several areas of language. Individuals with learning disabilities may only have one area affected, or they can have trouble across multiple areas. Spelling, writing, reading, speaking, listening, thinking, and mathematics are all forms of language and representation of language that are impacted by learning disabilities. The image here can help us understand how multiple parts of the brain interact and regulate our ability to take in information, remember and process that information, and then recall that information later. Other areas of the brain regulate our ability to connect information, analyze, and draw conclusions to answer problems, like the small math problem displayed here. However, the brains of those with a learning disability process information differently. The connections between their brains may be set up differently, maybe don't function exactly, and contribute to their learning difficulty. These can put information in, storing information, calculating information, or getting information back out. So while one student may see 5 plus 8 equals and easily connect the two numbers to get 13, a student with a learning disability may take more time to see the problem and connect it with the solution and thinking needed to get 13. How is someone diagnosed with a learning disability? First, individuals used to be diagnosed using what is called the severe discrepancy formula. This approach aimed at comparing an individual's threshold and their actual performance level. However, this approach can lend itself to misdiagnosing, either missing those with small learning disabilities or determining a learning disability as the issue when in fact there are other factors. Now, learning disabilities are diagnosed on a research-based procedure conducted by local education agencies. The LEAs will determine an intervention and track a student's progress to diagnose a learning disability. During diagnosis, researchers are likely to be able to identify the type of learning disability or areas affected by the disability. Some common learning disabilities are displayed along with a graphic that describes the areas these disabilities affect. Dyslexia primarily affects one's ability to process information with reading. An inability to read and understand can have secondary consequences such as poorer comprehension, memory processing, and difficulties learning through this medium. Dysgraphia affects the ability to write. This could include spelling, penmanship, or just being able to express thoughts and ideas through writing. Dyscalculia is similar to dyslexia, but is focused on difficulty understanding and processing numbers and mathematical concepts. Finally, Dyspraxia, often developed through similar neurodevelopment errors, affects an individual's ability to have proper physical coordination. This is important to remember that learning disabilities don't only apply to English, math, and science, but are concerns for physical education and performing art classes. What causes a learning disability? Learning disabilities can occur as a result of errors that occur during neurodevelopment, from brain injuries, genetic differences in the brain and nervous system, or likely through other means. Learning disabilities are very common, with 1 in about every 5 people having one. While quite common, learning disabilities differ significantly in the challenges they cause from person to person. Most learning disabilities can be seen in early childhood and elementary schools, primarily because reading, writing, spelling, and basic math are key focuses during this time. While many of the symptoms listed may be expressed, it is not likely that an individual would experience every sign because of the diversity among learning disabilities. Some other signs not listed may include trouble telling time, understanding sounds, difficulty adjusting to change, delayed speech development, and variations in performance from day to day. We'll now apply what we've learned about learning disabilities to parents and teachers, aiming to provide the best setting for children and students to learn and find success in. First, parents should get their child tested for a learning disability if they suspect this may be the case. Schools and individual practices can provide these tests. Getting a child tested can identify needs and available resources to better suit the needs and adaptations of the child. Second, parents should educate themselves about the specific learning disability their child may have. This will allow parents to better respond to their child's needs and provide them with tools and resources to aid in those needs. Next, finding opportunities to praise a child and accomplish tasks can help a child feel confident and more optimistic about their ability to learn. Finding ways they learn best and developing good study habits will help them adapt and meet the challenges of their learning disability. Finally, parents should be involved in their child's education, developing an individualized education plan with the school to provide the needed resources for their child to learn and succeed in school. While these tips may seem simple, some parents may hit roadblocks, which we will learn about next.
I think when parents or if parents hit a brick wall, one thing that I found that's very useful is to try to incorporate what we instill in our children, which is a sense of resilience, that not everything that we ask for is going to work immediately. And so if we go down one path and we find a roadblock, what other paths might we be able to take when we do hit into something that's not working? So, for example, if you ask for an evidence-based reading program for your child and the school district doesn't have that available, what might you do? You might look to the State Department of Education or educate yourself on what the laws are and what your child is entitled to, because I think that could be really helpful, knowing what you're asking for is reasonable and is within the limits of what you should expect your school to provide. I think that asking somebody else to join you in your advocacy can be really helpful, so that you're not going at it alone and feeling isolated or made to feel that what you're asking for is unreasonable or that you're the only person who's asking for this. So that might mean either getting an advocate from your state disability rights organization, or paying for an advocate to come with you to one of your meetings, or paying for another parent, or not paying, but asking another parent who has been through that journey to join you, because it's almost inevitable when you're paving new ground that you are going to hit roadblocks. And if your expectation is that it's going to be smooth sailing, I think that you're setting yourself up. And so it's a matter of how can you maintain that optimism and also do for your child or children what you think would be helpful for them outside of the school, so that if school is stressful, during 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, what can you do outside of school to nurture their areas of strength and create a different kind of experience when they're not in that school building? I think that really helps to energize them so that they can go back again the next day.
Like parents, teachers can play a significant role in the development and success of their students. Getting to know their students will allow them to build that connection and trust needed for students to reach out and receive help. Understanding the specific challenges that a student has with their learning disability will allow teachers to provide appropriate accommodations and support for that student. These accommodations could include simplifying instructions, providing extra time, or allowing students to use technology, such as voice recorders, speech-to-text tools, or audiobooks. Teachers may need to accommodate their students by providing multiple ways to measure and test their students. The adaptive technology can also apply here. Finally, teachers should recognize the opportunity and impact they can have on each of their students. Involvement with other faculty, participating in IEPs, and good communication and relationships with parents will help teachers find the best way to help their students, providing an environment and opportunity for all students to learn and be successful. If you'd like to learn more, take some time by visiting the links below.